Are you trying to get your shift together?
Welcome to the Shift Sisters podcast, where real conversations inspire real transformations. We're not experts, but we're experiencers. I'm Sandra Sa.
And I'm Jennifer Richter.
We're your Shift Sisters.
Whether you're shifting like a sloth or it looks like you're having an exorcism, this is your space to breathe, reflect, and remember. We're here to talk shift with you.
Welcome back, Shifties, to the Shift Sisters podcast. I am Sandra, and we have my soul sister from another mister, Jennifer. And
guys.
yes. And we're going to continue our discussion of family dynamics and all the things that are encompassed in that.
Mm-hmm.
And today's specific episode, we're going to dive into shifting out of the family nest, which is a huge first step as being a grown-up and adult and being on your own and navigating what that looks like, either if you're on the brink of a shift and looking to move out, if you have a child that is looking to move out and what that looks like. And obviously, we all have stories about our first big shift leaving the nest. So today is going to be a deep dive into some of those things, some of the complexities of it, how to prepare for it, and what were the unexpected consequences that happen when being on your own, because boy, do I have a few. So Jennifer, are you excited about this topic?
It is interesting. You know, I think family dynamics is just as tumultuous. I'm not saying it right. Tumultuous. I can't say it.
Tumultuous. Yeah.
Am I saying it right?
Tumultuous.
I couldn't say. I have so many words I'm challenged on saying, but anyways, as like talking about finances or something, right? Because it's not a conversation that everybody's comfortable with. Like, you know, people are not always comfortable talking about money. And family dynamics can be just as weighted.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So
Absolutely.
there's definitely, yeah, a lot I have to say about this because I, you know, was seeing kind of some of the stuff you wanted to chat about, and I'm like, oh shit, no, this is gonna open that book, but okay.
Well, I didn't have none of us have handbooks, right? So we're
No.
just kind of like winging it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's when you think about all the things that you did to kind of get in on your own 2 feet, to be independent, it's everyone takes a different journey. So I think I think it'll be fun to hear each other's stories and to
Yeah.
share kind of, what that looks like. And for you, Jen, you have an older child, and when he moved out for the first time, like that's all of that is going to be chatted about today. Let's do it. Let's do it. So feeling like a hot mess express, let's do our shift forecast. Ding,
Let's
ding, 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 ding.
do it. How are you feeling?
Girl, it has been, I don't even know, like life has just been lifing for me. And
Mm-hmm.
if I were to choose kind of my forecast and my internal weather report, I would say I'm in a dry heat wave. And when we think about that, let's break that down a little bit. So I'm feeling a little bit irritated, right? So there's just been a lot of things just pecking at me. And it's not one thing, one major thing. It's all of these little things. It's like, that water torture where they just, drip the one drop of water on your forehead. And if it's on its own, it's fine. But then when you have it over and over and over, it's like,
Yeah,
what
before
is
you
it
know it, you're being waterboarded.
exactly? And I don't want that, girl. My hair doesn't take to like water that well. I need some product and stuff. So I'm feeling irritated and a little bit, I don't want to say depleted because I feel like you're on the ground when you're depleted. I'm kind of tired of it. I'm just tired and I am ready to move on from whatever this thing is. But I am still standing and I'm showing up, and I don't want it, and I don't ever want to be in the place where I'm on the ground, right? Where I'm
Yeah.
like, I
Well,
can't
when you are, I'll lay down with you.
see. That's why I love you. See, that's exactly what I need. Just lay down with me and put a blanket over us. That's
And
it.
then we'll look at the clouds and count the stars and do all the things we can do laying down for that time. So it's all
I
right.
love it. So that is my shift forecast. I wasn't sure if you had one for today, Jennifer, or if you want to just help support kind of where I am in this dry heat wave space.
Yeah, I feel you with the dry heat wave. I can't necessarily say that my feeling today is on our shift forecast because I'm a soup sandwich girl.
I always love when you say
I am a soup sandwich, like both really good ingredients, but they should not be put together.
yes.
And I have been doing a lot of internal work to heal my physical self since, my mental and emotional and spiritual self is really, growing and strengthening. And I have had poor posture, and there's a lot of ailments that come with poor posture. And so I've been doing, acupuncture and chiropractic and all this other stuff, and I feel broken. I mean, physically freaking broken. I can't even move my left arm, but I'm like, you know what? I still have my right arm. What mom can't do life with one arm anyways, because half
Right?
of them learn to do everything with a baby in their arms.
Mm.
And I'm like, so I'm going to keep doing my trigger release things. I'm going to keep pushing through this. I'm going to fix this shit and I'm going to feel better on the other side. And then we can have a soup and sandwich instead of soup sandwich.
It's a combo. It's a good combo to have, girls. Soup and sandwich. And that's the thing, like, good for you for like pushing through, because when you're in those shifts, it's messy, the messy
Mm,
middle, as you
mm.
had shared. And it's like, I don't know if I could push through this pain. I don't know if I could push through this like muck.
Yeah, because you usually are like, this is uncomfortable. This means I shouldn't do it. Not necessarily so. Like, look, remember that body discovery, like being a detective? I'm like, okay, well, this shows me this is connected to that, and so on and so forth. And that shows me where the weak spot is and where I need to work and where I need to strengthen and put mindfulness at. So I'm grateful for the body signs, even though they're painful. It's helping me figure out a lot of things. So
Awesome. Awesome. The body speaks the mind all the time. So
all the time.
with my like feeling for or do you have anything else to add to?
Well, for your dry heat wave today, I don't know if you have these oils, but I would pair 2 oils with it, which is funny because I almost made this as a drink today, but Roman chamomile,
Okay.
right? I almost made that as a tea, but I'm going to look here in my app that I use because I don't remember any of this stuff. But I love this app because I access it all the time. I can look up the oil, the emotion, or the body that is kind of screaming, the body part, and then I can look up, all the connections to it. So Roman chamomile is spiritual purpose. Roman chamomile supports individuals in discovering and living their true life's purpose,
Mm,
which I feel is interesting
yes.
for you. And then let's see here, sandalwood is the other one, and it's sacred devotion. Sandalwood assists with all kinds of prayer, meditation, and spiritual worship. It teaches reverence and respect for deity. I don't remember what deity means, but I have to look that up. The oil has been used since ancient times and has powerful ability to calm the mind and still the heart and prepare the spirit to commune with God. So maybe you need all of these alignments to keep living your purpose. And sometimes I feel like when you're transitioning out of one life purpose into another, there is that messy middle, and that's where everything can feel like too much. So
Yeah, and
rub them on.
absolutely. And it's one of those like you can simultaneously be in the messy middle, but also like optimistic and
Hmm.
hopeful. And I'm trying to encompass that, because all of this, that old adage of like this too shall pass kind of thing. The only part that I don't ever want to do is get stuck. That
Yeah.
is it. So, and I like the two descriptions of what you shared with the oils. I'm like, I need a bath with that. I'm gonna like put that
Ooh.
in a bath
Yeah.
and
That
just
would be a good one. I've never put these two together. It does smell really interesting, because you have a dainty, delicate flower and then some heavy wood.
mm,
So I don't know. That's interesting. Give it a try.
I will, I will. And with my kind of like irritated, agitated, you
Hopeful
know,
and irritated.
hopeful and irritated, uh, I made this morning a protein berry matcha. And
Protein berry
I need some
matcha.
protein goals in my life, right? Like I need to up my protein. My doctor's saying it. I have to do it. And sometimes I just can't fit like 100 grams of protein. Like I don't even know what that looks like, in terms of what to eat.
Well,
So
in a healthy form, right? Because like you and
yes,
me, we can't handle heavy, heavy, heavy fats, and everybody's like, oh, just eat more beef or whatever.
yes,
And it's not the same for everybody.
it's not. It's not. So I'm trying to get creative.
Okay.
And I took so my husband went to Canada, bought a bunch. I'm talking a freaking catalog of jams. And I'm like, "Okay, my love, what are we gonna do with all of this?" So
Gosh.
there was a triple berry like jam that
Okay.
I mixed up with just plain protein powder, like it doesn't have any like flavor to it. So in the bottom you see the jam is settled. And then I made a matcha to go with it. So the jam is the sweetness, the protein is in there, the matcha is going to give me a little kick. So I'm trying to meet all of my goals,
You make
girl.
me feel like I'm not even trying. Oh my god, that's amazing. I'm like, I never looked at my jam in the fridge like that, but dang. Oh
Yes,
my god.
yes. Do you have anything that you're sipping on today, my friend?
It's just a ginger latte and,
My favorite.
nothing too fancy, but because of all this trigger release, it's caused kind of like head tension. So ginger is really good for circulation and stuff. So I was like, give it to me.
I always feel so inspired by like making these drinks and hearing the drinks because there's just so many benefits in and of, hydration, of course,
Oh
right?
yeah.
But you
Hmm.
can get just so much fun. Like I love hearing the recipes and I just look forward to seeing more of the creativity to come with them.
Well, I'm writing down all of yours because this is awesome. When you made your matcha, what kind of milk did you use?
So I used this one is oat milk, which I
Okay.
know is not the best,
Okay.
but
So you got jam, protein, plain protein, matcha, and then oat milk.
yes, yes.
Okay.
And all of it, like the oat milk and the jam is sweet, so you don't have to
That's
necessarily add
true.
anything else.
Mhm.
All right. So, shall we jump into our topic? Are we ready to do that?
Let's talk shift, girl.
All right, let's do it. So, as we talked about, huge first major shift. And for some people, it happened earlier. Some
Mhm.
people left the nest in their teens or in the young adults. Some happened later. There's a lot of cultural aspects to it as well, depending on the type of family that you came from. And I'm going to speak to that about my particular family. And there's just so much that, young people are also not prepared for when they step out of the family nest. So before we get into specific questions, I'd love to hear about your Jennifer first shift out of your family home.
Wow. Well, I came from a shit show, so it was something that I had been planning for a long time, my escape route, right? I was like starting envisioning how I was going to leave the nest at a very early age. And I think 15 when I actually started. I had to hide my money because any money that I made, my mother thought she was entitled to. And so I started slowly envisioning what I would like to supply my first place with.
Mm,
And I would buy things on clearance at Walmart or Walgreens or wherever I could walk to at the time. And, just buy one pack of washcloths or, I mean, all of these things. And I did that for 3 years.
mm,
And
mm.
so by the time, and I hid it all from my mother because if she saw that, she would lose her mind and throw it all out. And I hid it in my closet behind my clothes to eventually, like, things were busting out of the closet because I ended up having like a vacuum cleaner and all sorts
Girl,
of stuff. I was like, if I find a good deal, I'm not missing out. I just have to
yes.
find a way to hide it. And it was easy because she's a hoarder, anyways, and the house was a freaking mess. So for her, like, seeing extra stuff in the room was nothing obvious. So I was able to get away with it. And yeah, I was so excited. I was working 2 and 3 jobs at the time, which was common for me. And I was a brand new young teenage mom, right? I had my son when I was 17 and I had been planning this exit route. And so I was 18. I was finally able to leave the nest legally. And I found a duplex that it sounds crazy at the time. It was a 2 bedroom, 1 bathroom for $400 a month. And I'm like, Jesus, am I from the olden days or something? Because, oh, wait, yes, I'm from the 1900s. But I'm like, there's nothing that would cost that these days. And I was lucky because it was actually in the same neighborhood that my sister and her husband moved to.
Hmm.
So even though it wasn't the best of neighborhoods, it was definitely better than living with Linda. And then I had my sister a couple doors down, which I always had hoped to see her growth to where we could, rebuild that relationship because of all the potential that I seen out of her as a person. And unfortunately, those hopes and dreams didn't come to fruition, but I felt a little safer, right? Having her and her husband down the street. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting things that come with that. But what about you?
Yes. Wait, how old were you when you moved out?
18.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. That is
Yeah.
girl, my story isn't so opposite, right?
Mhm.
So I moved out when I was 30.
Oh,
I
wow,
was
really?
yes, yes.
Dang, girl.
And I come from a family of, you get married, then you move out, right? And you move out into someone else's home
Mm.
kind of thing. And it was tricky because as I've shared with you, like in my early years, there was a lot of, things that happened. So when my dad died, everything shifted. So my
Mhm.
mom was the breadwinner, and we had to all kind of collectively come together to support the family unit because we didn't have a handbook on what to do without the head of household in the house. So it took time, and there was this sense of really making sure mom was okay, and a sense
Yeah,
of like making sure that everything was taken care of. And my mother is a caregiver. So when my uncle was sick in Puerto Rico, she had him come over. When my grandfather was sick, he came over. So we were in this kind of service of caring for the elders in our
family.
family. So grandma came to live with us, and you know my angel, my grandmother's the best. It was the best, the best. And we were living at home, all together. And my brother and my sister had moved out, and I said, I just can't do this anymore. So I started, once again, I lived in the city, right? So it was expensive. And
What was it that made you feel like you couldn't do it anymore?
well, the thing is, I just needed uh I just needed space. I needed to, if I needed to be alone, I wanted to be alone if I wanted to do things. And I needed just the ability to just create my own space and what I needed for that time.
Mhm.
So I had a job and I started saving, and I thought to myself, okay, I need to come up with first month, last month, and security. That's how it is in New York, plus a broker's
A broker's fee. Oh, I've not heard of that one.
1 month's rent.
Wow, okay.
And I said, okay, I need to find a spot that is, and I was very specific on what I wanted. So I
Shocker.
was able to find a spot which was about 20 blocks from my mom's, from the nest.
Mhm.
And it was right on Riverside Drive on the water, and it was perfect. It was perfect. I had this apartment where I overlooked the Hudson River into New Jersey. Because of Riverside being so quiet, I didn't have like the crazy loudness of where we used
Mhm.
to live. And I had to, and the rent was $1,600. And I had to figure it all out. And I went to my sister, and as a meek little baby sister, and I said, I'm about $2,000 short. Can you help me? And she was like, girl, here it is. Like, don't worry about you. Pay me back, like, in fives or in tens. Like, get the fuck out of there. Like, she was so out of it. And I was like, thank you, big sister. And she was just so wonderful in helping me in the
Mhm.
transition. Saw the apartment, got the apartment, and my mother was devastated. She was just,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, you could have stayed here and saved all your money. You could have blah, 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 and all this other stuff. And what are we going to do? And I'm like, I'm 20 blocks away. I can come at a moment's notice. And it was definitely a huge shift, but it was, I'll never forget like my sister's help in that and how she supported me, because I was
Mhm.
doing it like you, kind of on my own, and I didn't talk to anybody about it, and I was meeting brokers, and I was doing all these things, but I was a late bloomer in that. Um and just really enjoyed where I was after that.
How did you navigate, and I say this in the nicest way because your mother, I personally know, would never do this maliciously, but there's sounds like there was a little bit of a guilt
Yes,
trip
big.
there. So how did you navigate that?
That was huge. It was like, so um I knew that she had also a fear of just being alone. Um so I made it very apparent that I wasn't, just dropping off the face of the earth. So I would make it a point, like, at least once or twice a week to come over. And my mother's love language is food. Like, she cooks, you guys are like kindred spirits.
Yes,
And
we have that in common.
I would say, "Oh, I'm gonna come over on Tuesday after, evening to have dinner." And she would get super excited and, "What do you want what do you want? What can I make you?" And she would just go all out. And then it was just a lovely time because I would sit there and talk to my grandmother and we would just, talk about life. And then my mother is just kind of going away, picking up things and cooking. It was just really great. So that was my way of kind of showing them that I wasn't going anywhere. And
Yeah.
I just needed this for myself.
Isn't it interesting though? And I didn't realize this until later. So when we talk about Riley leaving the nest, my oldest, but isn't it interesting? It's like you get a new book in this series of your relationship, like
Yes,
with your mother,
exactly.
or with your grandmother, right? Because you have this different dynamic and stuff like that, which seems threatening and nerve-wracking at first, but it's such a beautiful opportunity to have a new book in the relationship written between the two of you. And that's one of the things that I had to have a come to Jesus on when Riley, my first, left the nest. But
Yes. I think it's such a s I 100% agree with that because I think I also was a better daughter and granddaughter because I was just cherishing those times as opposed to, you know, the funk or the attitude when I woke up too early and I was grumpy and I was, things were in the way or whatever it was. So,
well, I think it's because you had space to take care of your needs and hear what you needed and to deliver them. And that's where it always goes back to where, they'll say, like, oh, putting yourself first is selfish. Well, no, this is a prime example of nurturing yourself, giving yourself the space and the environment that you need so that you can show up better in other areas of your life.
100%. So moving on to you're in your spot or you've made the decision and you know where you're going to move to. What emotions did you feel when you first thought about leaving home and when you actually started going in that directions? What were those feelings like for you?
Well, definitely I was elated, right, to have a space. And I was super young, so I didn't know what I didn't know at the time. I look back and I would have told myself, girl, you should have been more mindful of safety in this area and that area, and you should have done this, that, and the other. But all in all, I was just filled with so much joy. So much joy because I felt like it was my first step into creating a positive family unit for my son
Yes.
to break that chain that I kept, or that pattern, that family patterns that I wanted to get him away from so badly. I felt like it was just the first real step. And so I was proud of myself. I was honored to be able to, like, have some skills which weren't anything special. I mean, well, I shouldn't actually degrade it like that. I mean, all I did was work in the food industry and I was in service and I love it. And it's not that it wasn't special because it actually is special to me, but it's not in most people's mind of high achieving, right? But I did it and I did it well and I was proud of myself that I could make that money to be able to pay the bills and support me and my son because I had been working since I was 12 to pay Linda's bills. So, like, clearly I had experience, right? Because I used to clean offices at night so that I could get paid in cash to help pay whatever bills she needed. So, yeah, I mean, still just thinking about it just makes me so happy because it was the first free moment I felt.
Yes. Yes. That's awesome. And it's also, like for me, I just felt super determined to
Mm.
proceed. And the thing is, it's living in the city is expensive. It's so hard. And I remember saying to myself, can I go back? Sure, but I can't, in terms of my standard. I can't go back. I have to do this. And I really just made sure that everything was all my ducks were in a row in order to make that happen. And that I also had a backup plan, right? Okay, if this doesn't work out, what do I do? So there was a lot of feelings about that, and I think it was also I was so excited because I was able to get a spot that I loved. Um,
Mhm.
it wasn't fancy. It was, on the first floor. So anyone that walked by, my bedroom window, you could hear them talking and things. And there was like a laundry room in the basement that was like out of a horror movie. So I was getting my steps and I was running and I was putting my laundry and I was running back because it was just scary as all
Yeah, those
hell.
haunted hallways and shit, someone gonna pop out with a knife to get you. That's how those freaking scary movies are made. Jeez.
Yup. And I was like, I watched enough of these mother
You're like, "I am not gonna be on one of those shows."
for sure. But I just, it also, with everything, it's character building. And I think it was something that I just, thinking back about it, I was just so happy that I was able to get exactly what I was manifesting. And I said, I want to live on Riverside Drive, close enough to, because my sister also lived on Riverside Drive. So it was 20 blocks south to my mom and 10 blocks north to my sister. So it was just perfect where I can go up or down. And I had, all of that. So it was great.
Love that.
Yeah. Okay, so we talked a little bit about, I shared with you how my mom felt about it and my sister was super supportive. But what were some of the reactions of your family members when you left?
Don't remember even a speck of what Linda responded to with because I knew in my entire being I didn't give one F how she felt about it because we had such um a violent relationship that her opinion on it mattered to me like negative 100. But my sister my sister was excited, right? Because her sissy was down the street, and then I could come over for barbecues and different things like that. And so it was fun, and she was very happy to have me nearby because she had had her only child, her first and only child, a year before I had Riley. So then they were able to grow up or start to grow up, like siblings, and we were close by. So it was exciting.
That's awesome. Well, as I said, for me, it was just, I got some guilt and I also on the opposite side got a lot of excitement from, my sibling and for myself, I was just like pushing myself like
Mhm.
this is what it's going to be and I was excited about that shift for myself.
Do you have anything still from when you first moved out that you bought for your house?
That I got from my house? That's a great question.
Like something that you bought for your first place, and if you still have it.
I have to think about that because I bought a lot of stuff.
I know.
I bought a lot of stuff. I was like, and it was this tiny, it was a one bedroom, but
Mhm.
that shit wasn't a one bedroom. It was a studio cut
Yeah.
into different plate, and it was some ridiculous like 900 square, like, no,
I
it was
think it
like
was like 500 you said last
500.
time.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry. Yes. It was like 500 square feet. I had a kitchenette. It was the tiniest thing. And I thought I was living in a mansion, right? Because I bought shit. And I'm like, where am I going to put this ottoman and this huge old wall unit? Like, what am I thinking? But I loved it. I remember I said so my sister came over and I said, we are going to paint the walls. Forget this white. So I had a pink room. Okay, I don't want to say even room, but I had a pink space, a yellow space, and a blue space. It was like the goddamn tropics in the middle of it was so obnoxious, but I didn't care.
No, because you were letting your freak flag fly. You were like, "I
Yeah.
wanna experiment and see what fits."
I
So,
was like, "Yep, you could paint again, you could paint it over. This is, my space." So, I got it, but I have to look and see, and I'm gonna see if I find anything because I feel like I should have something. So,
I'm curious.
um, all right, wonderful. So we're gonna shift a little bit and move away from our own nest and our experiences from our nest and move into a child's moving out of the family nest.
Mm.
And Jennifer, as a mom of three, you've been through this with your oldest, and I would love to ask a few questions about that transition for you. So tell us about that transition.
Oh, well, my oldest, he has always been on the fast track of everything. He not only like the fast track with actual race cars, but like just real life. He's always, need for speed. And he graduated early. He ended up getting it's so crazy how like his manifestation came to be, right? Because I don't think younger kids, just like how you said you manifested your first place, I don't think they realize when they really lean into their heart's desire, that is manifesting. Went back when we lived in Florida originally, and he was like 12 years old. He had always wanted to go to mechanics school, and he wanted to go to, it's UTI, University Technical Institute, and they have different, like, I had to state that because we don't want to talk about UTIs, but anyways, they have them in multiple states, but not in every state. And we had some in Florida, but their program that he wanted to go to for diesel mechanics and things like that were not here. It was in Arizona. Well, fast forward 4 years later, my husband gets a job offer in Colorado. And so we leave. Riley's 16. He's in the middle of high school. And we get there about a month in, and my husband has this job that is for a big trucking transport company. And my husband does all the IT. And he's like, IT is my thing. He goes, but honestly, I don't really care about trucking and this, that, and the other. He's like, I feel like I need to do IT for like a company that I'm passionate about, like health or technology or whatever. And I said, well, you were sent here for this job for a reason. And until you serve that purpose, whatever it is, you're not going to be released from it. And a month after that, the owner came to Adam and, how's your family doing? Everything like that. And he mentioned that his son wants to go to school for diesel mechanics. And he said, oh, well, great. Bring him in. I'll give him an apprenticeship. And we're like, what? And they don't do this for anybody. And so they brought Riley in at 16 and gave him a paid apprenticeship.
Amazing.
In their shop doing mechanics. And then they said, you know what? We'll give you a scholarship, which they also don't do for anybody ever. And they said, we'll give you a scholarship as long as you go to the school we want you to go to. And he's like, well, where is it? UTI in Arizona.
My goodness.
And we're going to give you $20,000 towards your scholarship, but you also have to get specialized in like diesel Freightliner or Cummins Freightliner, all this other stuff. So of course, Riley's like, hells yeah, let's do it. So he hurries up, he does all his things to graduate early because he's like, why am I going to sit here and do these extra couple years when I'm just ready to go? So that was a shock to my heart because yes, I want my son to flourish. Yes, I want him to live his dreams and manifestation. But in my mind, I had another year for him at home, another year before I had to plan a graduation party, another year before I had to do that next step. And it was the first time where I was like, wow, I am not in control of the timeline here. And I'm okay with that. But geez, I wish I could have gotten a warning to prepare my heart because Riley and I have an incredibly special relationship because of me being a young mom.
Yeah.
And it's not that I don't have a special relationship with all my kids. I do. They're just all very different. And I literally, I don't even know if I could say it right now, but I literally, I've never been so lost. I had my husband, yes. I had my other kids, yes. And we had all of our routines of like, big Sunday breakfast and all the things that we would do. And even though Riley was a child that didn't want to be home much and he didn't want to be involved a whole lot with the family activities because he just wanted to be out and about and social and doing car things and jumping off of bridges and swimming with alligators. Like he's a Florida boy. So, all the crazy stuff. But, he's just a free spirit and I can appreciate and understand that. Oh my God, I felt so lost. I have never felt depression before. No, and I didn't have other moms, warn me about this or to help support me through this at first because I wasn't aware of what was going to happen to me. And I didn't realize until every time he came home for a visit that without even thinking about it, I instantly was making a big Sunday breakfast. He was gone. I also didn't realize that I wasn't making it. And everybody else around me was like, what the frick? Are we like chopped liver here? Sunday breakfast doesn't matter till Riley's home. Like, what's going on, And So it was the hardest time of my life because, he's not one of those kids that's going to call and communicate everything that's going on in his life because he likes to live a more independent, separate life in that sense. And that's his choice. Yes, I worried all the time, and then I wasn't
Mm.
able to be there with him for one of his birthdays, and so I'm thinking, "Oh, okay, uh, I'm gonna send you I can't be there with you for your birthday. I can't make you a dinner. I can't send you a cake, but you're in college and you probably wanna celebrate with your friends." So I was so proud of myself. It was the first grocery delivery I had ever done. And now it was, like, so long ago, but I ordered steaks and potatoes and cake and stuff like that so he could grill out and cook with his friends and stuff. But, yeah, I miss him so much, but when I say that, I feel like I'm almost holding on to the relationship that once was, and I was at first missing the opportunity to develop what this new relationship could be because I was still holding on to just that. And then when he came back home, because I was thinking, oh, I miss my baby. I can't wait for him to come back home because we offer our children, you have the allowance to live in our home until you're 22, right? Because 18, just, the training wheels are just coming off, right? So you have this safe space to live here. You have a roof over your head. You have food to figure out your career, get your foundation started. But we have a couple of things that you have to contribute to the house. And if for whatever reason you are not contributing, I will not nag. I will not complain, but I will implement rent the very next month. So that's my policy. And if you don't want to do the rent, totally fine, but you're welcome to find other accommodations. And I feel like those are pretty reasonable standards for someone wanting to get their life set up. And so I was so excited. I couldn't wait for him to come back home. And then, oh my gosh, as you know, Sandra, after you live on your own for a while, coming back home to live with your parents is a whole new beast. It's like living with hornet's nest inside. You're like constantly, fighting because now they're more independent and they have their own ways of things and they don't care that they're in your house. They still want to do it their way anymore. And I was like, yeah, I'm not sure how this is going to work. So yeah, it was an interesting dynamic. Riley, didn't we did have to get to the point where we were like, hey, rent's going to be implemented since these, things aren't being contributed to. And he said, okay. And he went out, found a new place to rent that was outside our home. That was even more money than we were requesting. And I said, okay, honey, like, I didn't take it as a personal attack or anything like that. Like, he wants his freedom. He's a free spirit. And I'm so glad that I have raised a child that is confident
Yes.
and
Yes.
strong and super resourceful because that's what gives me peace in the times where I don't get to know what's always going on with him. But I am so confident in his abilities to be resourceful and figure it out.
So many points you touched upon, like that grieving process of like, the family being in one particular unit and then his branching out and how that made you feel. And I think that's a piece that needs to come out to light and be discussed because, in my eyes, I'm like, mom is guilting me when I was leaving, but it was more of she was grieving that I was leaving, right? I was the last of her three children. And in my perspective, I didn't see that, of course, but listening to this and thinking back, I could see where that emotion comes from. Yeah. Go ahead. You were gonna say
No, go
something.
ahead. You're good.
Now, thinking about Riley's leaving, and I talked about what I would do to help maintain kind of strong family connections, but was there anything that you would say, recommend, suggest, or anything that happened that could help strengthen or maybe move into that next chapter of the book of the relationship that you would say?
Yeah. I definitely would constantly create like just, our rituals of, hey, it's a holiday for going to pick pumpkins or to go snow tubing or whatever it is, because he is like me in the sense where he likes to be moving all the time. He does not want to sit around and play board games or watch movies. Well, maybe it's movies sometimes, but he wants to go, go, go all the time. And so I just had to create these active moments that he would be interested in joining, right? Otherwise, he would just stay busy doing his thing. And I'm hoping that, as he grows older, he'll feel a little bit different about relationships and harnessing those. I know Adam didn't really come to that in his life till he was about 35. And so everybody's got it at a different stage, but we are still to this day working on building that relationship, because I feel like we are stuck in that era sometimes of how he might see me and how I might see him from that life that we had before, right? Now he's married and he has a life that he's building, and we moved completely to another state, before he even got married and all this other stuff. So we moved back to Florida. He's still in Colorado. And so not only do we have to find new ways to continue to grow and build our relationship, you're doing it at a distance as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
And some people are only like the convenience factor, right? If you're close by, then that's the people I have relationships with. As you know, distance does not ever become a barrier for me, ever. If you're in my heart and I care about you, we're going to have a relationship, regardless if we talk once a year, if we talk every day, or anything in between. I'm going to foster our relationship. Yeah, so we're still working on it. And I really am enjoying building my relationship with my daughter-in-law. So, yeah, well,
I can so see that. I remember after leaving, as I told you, I would visit weekly, and I
mhm.
always, so this is where the beginning of my like hosting and bringing people together started,
Mm,
because I didn't want our relationships to dwindle, right?
yeah.
Because we were in different residences. My brother was married, my sister, had her spot with her child and her husband, and I said, okay, in my little tiny studio apartment that pretended to be one bedroom, we are going to have a Thanksgiving party. I mean, I don't know how I did it, Jennifer, but I was able to like have these parties and these events. I remember like moving furniture all into the bedroom area just to have enough space. It was just, I did anything and everything I could to really just foster, our family and just get everyone together. And and I still, and I did that and I still do that, right? I still do that. It's
Mhm.
still a big part of
Yeah, you
who
still
I
move
am.
furniture all around like crazy.
Yes. I'm telling you. And that was one of the like, I didn't expect that, but it was like a fun kind of,
New
consequence.
evolution.
Yeah. And I think it's important that you talked about, you know, um, the convenience factor, right? So I'm in Texas and I don't have family in Texas, but I really value those, those people that reach out and, if I try as well. So if I'm visiting New York or, other places as well, it's like, okay, let's see each other and things like that. So I think that's why I feel so strongly about you, because I knew that if we moved to, Kalamazoo, that we would still be as tight as we are if we lived, 10 minutes away, which we did in
Yep.
Florida.
Yep. Totally. What do you feel though about the balance of effort in continuing to foster, maintain, and grow those relationships that are at a distance?
So I'm in a stage of my life where I cannot give energy that should be received by the other person. So I'm at a place in my life now where if there is an effort, if there is, a reciprocation, if there is an interest,
Hmm.
because prior to that, I was just, okay, I'm hosting Thanksgiving. I'm hosting Christmas. I'm hosting Christmas. Come visit me. And I would always put out invitations out there, in Florida and here in Texas. You can come stay with me. You can come visit. I have room. And I get a lot of the, yeah, 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 I'll come. We'll come. We'll come. And then it's like, okay. So I'm at this place right now that I just am not going to overextend my energy anymore. And also, that's a message, right? That I need to hear and listen. So I'm listening more to the message that they are giving me as opposed to, me hoping for the best, right? So That's where I am right now, looking at
Well,
that.
good. We'll talk about that in our emotional spend topics coming up soon. Because, girl, I'm going to teach you how to budget that energy.
I love it. I am ready. We can just keep going on and on and on with this topic. I know that there's just so many like questions that I have. So just going to ask a couple of things. So thinking about your shift and maybe even with your son Riley, how has the shift of leaving the nest impacted your personal growth? Did it show you anything about yourself? Did it show you anything about your child? Tell me about kind of what the growth factor looked like in moving out of the family nest.
Riley has unknowingly taught me a lot because when I am challenged with something in any important relationship of mine, I dig in and I do a lot of deep reflection.
Hmm.
And I want to see and examine like what my responsibility in certain things are. Even in my own emotions about something, what is my responsibility in that? And how can I support myself instead of putting the responsibility on the other person to fix my feelings or my perspective? And, Riley and I have been through different times where, we were definitely at odds for things, and I had to dig deep because there were so many misunderstandings throughout our growth periods that I had to read books on estranged children and see what it looks like from a parent's responsibility in that aspect, and what I need to do maybe in my own behaviors to possibly adjust to be better aligned as a parent for the type of parent he needs. I'm not saying that I need to cater and change who I am to pacify my children. It's not that, but in any relationship, I think everybody needs to be loved a little differently and understood a little differently. And that's what relationships are about, are willing to grow together and make these small little tweaks. And so um, I had to learn a lot of boundaries. I had to learn how to be not so reactive on certain things. And it was a lot of deep work. And honestly, I would just look books up all the time. And I did have a therapist on and off in between that I would go to for just a third party perspective, because I'm like, he is expressing he feels this way. I feel this way. My husband feels this way. Please give us some perspectives that I can work with, because I would feel gridlocked. And so I had a lot of growth just from his independence and sometimes stubbornness or misunderstandings. It made me go deeper of, okay, what do I need to do to be a better or clearer communicator, or to be less reactive, or to be more understanding and supportive in the ways that he needs, not necessarily the ways that make me feel comfortable.
Wow, wise, the words, the wisdom, all the things, because I think those are the things that get trapped in us, right? Like the feelings that you just shared of being, a parent that really speaks to him and his style. I think that's I don't have biological children of my own, but I can imagine what that feels like to have a member of your family just, leave, and it just changes the whole everything. So
It does. And honestly, the feeling that I feel probably 80% of the time in my parenting journey with him in particular, I feel inadequate
mm,
because of just a lot of different things. But it doesn't stop me from trying to figure it out, because inadequacy or the feeling of it only comes from a lack of knowledge and understanding, in my opinion. And I don't feel that I understand everything clearly at the moment, and that is what leads into my inadequacy. But I am on the regular thinking about it and reading about it and working on it to try to see how I can, be a best fit in this relationship for him.
so when you think about that, Jen, like what advice would you give a parent who is in this, who are on the cusp of this, what types of wisdom nuggets would you give them to help them with their child transitioning out or shifting?
Yeah, one of the things I think that has helped me best, and I've mentioned it before, that I love profiling systems, the Child Whisperer, Strength Finder, love languages. Oh God, there's this one. It's called Surrounded. It's a book called Surrounded by Idiots. And it's great because it helps you to, it's a profiling system actually to help you navigate, the way people react and, just move through life. Anyway, so, um, I've read a ton of those books so that I could try to understand my children's passions and strengths and challenges so that I could try to find a way to support them best. But I also, um, I do a lot of like internal source spirit talk. And I've learned to not say, like, how can I get my child to call me more or whatever? I don't dictate what needs to happen. I ask when I go internally, what can I do to support my child or X, Y, and Z child best at this moment? Or what can I do most to express the love that they need? Or what can I do most to connect with them? And I just kind of, try to go within and go off of that intuition. If it's realizing, you know what, this person communicates better via text versus phone calls, then I'm going to be a better, more frequent texter to them. If I realize that they love one-on-one conversation and love to be next to each other or, next to somebody when they're talking, then I'm going to make sure to be present for those conversations. Or if it's a child that loves physical touch, right? I might just put my hand on their back or on their hand or whatever when I'm saying anything, even like it's time to wash the dishes,
Hmm.
because to them, that's part of their love language. And so I have spent and I'm still spending a lot of time just trying to learn their language.
Yeah. Wow. Who would have thought the idea of leaving the nest, how it brings up all of these different aspects of the family dynamic and the interpersonal relationships there and what it means internally and then with others. So this was a really great talk and helping to understand what all of that looks like. And yeah, I think there's, for myself, it's just been, now, I have mom living with us, so it's almost like coming back to the nest in a different
A
state.
role reversal. Well, I was
Yes.
going to ask you though, when you did go, not necessarily go back home to visit, but like within your new relationship with your mom, right, as an adult and living independently, did she do a good job, or I shouldn't say it like that, but like, did she treat you the way she treated you when you lived there and you were still that young child, or did your relationship develop and she treated you like who you are now?
Sure.
Does that make sense? I'm not
Yeah, yeah.
phrasing it right, but
No, I understand. I think that there are still aspects of the mom from the 80s and 90s, still wanting to make sure everything is okay and to do the laundry and to protect me and all of these different things, which feels very reminiscent of when we lived in our family home. And then now I also see that there's a huge respect of boundaries in terms of, the home that Michael and I built and the cycles of the day. And she's also kind of stepping back. So she's not, imparting all of the things that she would like to do, right? She's just observing and really working on trying to find that harmony, which I
yeah,
appreciate because obviously, when she was head of household, and dealing with everything in the house, she was she was the end all be all, right? And it's interesting to have that shift now where she's coming into our home and she's kind of saying, okay, this is the way that they do things. And
yeah.
she'll let you know, right? Like, well, I wouldn't do it that way, but
Mhm.
but this is how I would do it. But I'm, happy to do it that and share your ideas, right? Because we can also make some changes. But it has worked out pretty well. And the highlight is my husband and my mother get along swimmingly and they love each other. And I love that they love each other. and they treat each other with respect and love. And I can't ask for anything more because
Yes.
I can't even imagine if it was the opposite.
It is beautiful. Well, yeah, that is, I think, my challenge at this stage of my life is trying to figure out how to approach and see Riley for the man that he is,
Yes.
right? Not just my little baby,
Yes.
not just
Yes.
my bro that we grew up together the rest of the way, right? Like, he's more. He's way more than that now. And so I'm trying to embrace and see and approach that differently to see how I'm supposed to fit in there, but it'll all work out.
So tender, and it's so beautiful because as you said, like, you guys grew up together, and that's a really unique relationship to have. So, oh, what a wonderful topic, Jen. I really enjoyed jumping into this and learning about how it's shifted us as two women, and also how it changed dynamics within our family relationships. And if you are, on any of our listeners, any of our shifties, wanting to dive deeper into this topic, I have a couple of ideas and a couple of thoughts to kind of explore this a little more. So, we talked about people in different categories. So, if you are someone who identifies as someone preparing to leave the nest, so you're still in your family home and you're waiting to move out, I'd love to kind of give you this invitation. So consider creating a vision board of your new life in your new place away from your home. And you could do that on Pinterest. You could do that physically with art. So, what does that look like for you? I wish I did a little more manifestation of that before I moved out, but think
Mhm.
about what that looks like. So, ask yourself questions like, what do you hope for? What does it look like? What feelings or emotions do you anticipate to come through this shift?
Yeah.
Find, and you could do this in a journal, or you could do this, as I said, as a board to see what that might look like.
Mhm.
Now, for those who have left the nest, like you and I, considering writing a letter to those still in the home nest, and that could be kind of in your imagination, right? So, the folks that you left when you left, whoever was still in that home, share how you're doing and what you miss about your home nest. Oh, I see that face, Jen.
Oh my golly.
Yes, and you can include core memories. So, what are some memories that you had at the home nest? And it could be at any level. It could be negative, it could be positive, it could be, fun memories. And, use this as a journal entry to kind of transport yourself back as a 40-plus-year-old woman back to the place and the people that were there and what that feels like to you now. And I
That's
have a
gonna be an intense homework project because, boy, so much floods to the mind, but what a great freaking project
well, I
or
have a third one.
experience. Oh,
Yes.
a third one? Okay, go ahead.
So I said there were three categories. So one, preparing to leave, one that's already left, and the third
Yeah.
is parents who have children preparing to leave the nest.
You're
So
trying to kill me. I'm
so
like, I got an 18-year-old, and I'm like,
yes,
I hope he takes his opportunity up to 22 because I'm not ready.
I know, I know. Well, I'm hoping this helps give you community, Jen. It helps prepare you.
Yeah. It really, honestly, probably is wise to do this though, because it'll help me to reflect on the shock and the emotions that I wasn't ready for and all the things that I didn't get to say and reflect on with Riley at that time. So I think it'll probably be better, more beneficial than I'm realizing to take this time. And kind of like you say, you can write it, you don't have to give it to the person. But I think it'll be really helpful for me to think about this and do that.
Yeah, it's just a way to process what is the inevitable, right? It's
That's
it's gonna
true.
it's gonna come. So, one of my invitations is to journal about the departure of this child and how you think it would impact the home. So, listen to this next question. So, how does the departure open up space, and how does it leave a void? So, it's the same concept, right? So, opening up space is a more kind of a positive kind of spin on it, and then in the void, right? So the places that you're going to miss the child or feel like there's an emptiness there. So those are the two kind of aspects to look at. And since this is an important rite and passage for the child, what kind of ritual can you create to really bless him on his journey? So,
Damn, girl.
oh, I enjoyed this
You
episode.
are good.
Because it's so it's and I was thinking about you, and I thought about, okay, she's experienced this with Riley. Ashton is coming up on the wings, and I think it's something, we don't tend to sit around and talk about things like this in a general sense.
I mean, you do, but not other people.
Correct. Correct. This is why we have this podcast,
Yes.
girlfriend. It's just, and there's so many things like in my week I've learned that I haven't processed. There's so many things that I haven't processed in my life, and this could just open up the door for you or for some of our listeners to just go back to that space that still like nudges at them to talk about it, to explore in it, and to find creative ways to process this. So these are 3 invitations. You may fall in one of those categories, 2 of those categories, but it's just an opportunity to really dive deeper into this particular topic. So I hope you find something there that really resonates with you.
Oh man, these are great. I was just writing them down, but I am like, can I get a weekend by myself so I can reflect and journal and deal with my emotions and not talk to you guys?
I know. Just
I
a
love
cabin
it.
in
These
the
are
woods.
good. This is exactly, though, literally what my soul craves, because I feel like it gives me the equipment that I need to walk through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so important. And I think when we think about all of the boulders that are on our shoulders or in our chest or in our guts that we've just been carrying around, it's like, let's just start like cracking at some of those edges so that we can start releasing some of that, right? And I think with some of these shift activations that we're inviting people to do, it's a way to kind of create that, well, let's shake this up a little bit, and let's get to where those boulders are sitting so we can release and
Well,
feel lighter.
I hope all these people understand we're legit doing the shift with you.
Yes, yes.
We are not just, some specialist talking about it and telling you what to do and how to do your life. Like, we're literally in the muck, in the transition, right there with you doing the hard work. So thank you for supporting us too.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining today and exploring the journey of shifting away from the family nest. And if you are interested in sharing this episode, please do, because I'm sure you might have a family member, a friend, a close person to you that might need this type of support. And that is what we're here to do. If any of this landed for you, leave us a review and tell us what landed for you in this episode. Tag us on all the socials, #ShiftSistersPodcast. Go ahead and sip something yummy, and always know you have us to talk shift with. Thanks, everyone. And that's it for today's shift. Thank you so much for sharing this space with us. If you're loving the conversation, become a shifty. Like, follow, subscribe, and most of all, share this episode with someone who's shifting too, or someone who seriously needs to get their shift together.
Do you have thoughts, questions, topic requests, or maybe you're feeling the nudge to collaborate? Visit us at shiftsisterpodcast.com. We'd love to hear from you. We're so grateful for your presence, your friendship, and your willingness to do the work with us. Because shift happens and we're not meant to do it alone.
We'll meet you back here next time to breathe, reflect, and talk shift.